Okay, welcome back to Below the Belt Sports. This is our countdown to baseball. It's just me and Nick here today. We are covering the playoff predictions. We are going to cover everything about the NL, the AL, NL, AL. Yeah, we're going to cover NL, AL, and we're going to break down the playoff bracket too. So before we start, like, comment, subscribe, watch some baseball. You know, that's what this all is for. We're counting down opening day. So, Nick, can you please explain what the hell the playoff bracket is in Major League Baseball now? Because I'm thoroughly confused.
Yeah, of course. So in between the last time we saw this format that Major League Baseball is supposedly going back to this year, I won't believe it until I see it, considering the playoff format literally changed like 2 hours before opening day in 2020. We've seen a pandemic and expanded 16-team playoffs. If all goes well, because I hate the expanded playoffs in an 162-game season, I hate the idea of that. We're going to go back to 10 playoff teams. So the 6 division winners and then 2 wildcard teams in each league. How that works is the wildcard teams play a 1-game playoff. Then that team faces the number 1 seed in their league. So whoever the winningest division winner is faces the winner of the wildcard game. Doesn't matter if the wildcard winner has a higher win total than one of the division winners. If you win your division, you're automatically locked into the division series against the other division winner. So it's number 1 seed against wild card winner, and then the other 2 division winners play each other in the division series.
Makes sense.
I hope it makes sense. I'm trying my best for the people at home.
When you think about it, when you don't think about it too hard, it makes sense. Yeah, the second you start throwing numbers around there, it's over.
I mean, Manfred's going to expand the playoffs anyway. I know it's coming. Honestly, we're recording this like a couple days before we're going to drop it. I wouldn't be shocked if in between us recording this and the video being posted, it changes. But hey, we'll see. I'm hoping for the best.
I think Manfred's picking out of a hat what he wants. If he's like expanded playoffs, no.
Yeah, literally, yeah. He's like, what can I do to ruin baseball today?
All right. So Nick, who do you have? We'll do AL and then we'll do NL and then we'll kind of match them up. Who do you have in the AL kind of in terms of your seeding?
So
you want to start with the East?
Yeah, we'll go division by division and we'll reveal seeds, I guess, when we do the playoff picture. But American League East, yeah, call me biased. Everyone on this channel, I'm assuming, knows I'm a huge Yankee fan. If not, you could see the Yankee paraphernalia in the back. The Yankees have to win the American League East this year. I'm not saying that they are necessarily definitely going to. I thought they were definitely going into last season, and the Tampa Bay Rays beat them. But when you look at where the Yankees are at right now, they won 103 games in 2019, the last time we played in a 162-game season. And yeah, I know that they've lost some pitching since then. You know, Masahiro Tanaka has departed, James Paxton, but they didn't have Garrett Cole. You throw in 30 to 35 starts of Garrett Cole, no matter what else you're doing, you have that. You figure out the rest of the pitching from there. I think they have a deep pitching staff with Kluber, Tyone, Montgomery, Herman. I don't know if all those guys are going to work out. They probably won't, but you only need 2 or 3 of them behind Garrett Cole to really work out. Their bullpen's good. Their lineup's going to rake. And the Rays got worse. I still like the Rays, and I'll get to them later. The Yankees are better than the Rays on paper. Over 162 games, they need to beat out the Rays. The Blue Jays don't have enough pitching to win this division. I think the Red Sox would be better than people give them credit for, but they're not winning a division, and the Orioles definitely aren't winning a division. So I'm going to go with the Yankees in the American League East. It will be a complete and utter disappointment if they don't win this division.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, again, I'm a Yankees fan too. I don't think it's biased to say that they are one of the better teams in the AL. Because we break down the Yankees a lot, and I think a lot of our subscribers do too. But we consistently look at the flaws of that team, of the 2021 New York Yankees. We just rip them apart for everything that they're not. But when you look at what they are one of the best teams in baseball. Sure, you want to point at their rotation. Those guys have upside, and if they meet, let's say they don't reach that upside, they meet their bare minimum, you're still going to have somewhere around a 90 to 93 win team. Let's say everyone gets to that bare minimum. I would be shocked to see another team kind of reach that height. Maybe if the Blue Jays kind of figure it out and kind of ascend in the way that some people think they might. I don't think that's going to happen this year. I think that's maybe a year or two down the line. And you always got to worry about the Rays, but they're notorious from going first to worst, like when and in the reverse too, worst to first. So I don't think that this is their year. I do think that the more we look at the Yankees, the more we look at that lineup, and the more we look at the potential of that rotation and the solidity, if that's a word, of their bullpen, you got to think that they're going to win the AL East, no problem.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, the AL East is small potatoes for this team and where they're trying to go. Brian Cashman clearly built this team for October. I think that in his mind, he went with depth and longevity because he doesn't care if a guy like Tyone only starts 20 or 25 games, or Kluber maybe only 20 games, or 150 innings, whatever it is. This team is going towards October. I think as long as they remotely stay healthy, they're going to win a lot of games. I said they won 103 in 2019. I think that would be another nightmare scenario if you have, that many injuries again. I don't think they can withstand that. We've seen where it goes. It doesn't end in a World Series. It's, it's easy to think, oh, as long as everyone's healthy for the playoffs, it'll be fine. It's, it's kind of more of a fairy tale than anything to just hope that everyone magically gets better in September, and in October they're hitting the best pitching or striking out the best hitting. But there's too much talent here for me to not pick them to at least win the division.
Yeah. Yeah, we could talk about this all day. I think everyone can agree that the Yankees are that team in the AL East, at least right now. Who knows? But going into the Central, who do you got? AL Central.
So I like the Chicago White Sox a lot. I've seen people kind of go back and forth on them on Twitter, and I don't think they're necessarily a lock. I do think that they have a very good lineup. You look at a guy like Eloy Jimenez, who's underrated. I expect Luis Robert to break out this year. Jose Abreu had a great 2020. Tim Anderson's a good hitter. That lineup's really good. Giolito, who I know you love, is one of the best pitchers in the American League. He's a bona fide ace. You follow that up with Lance Lynn and Dallas Keuchel, who might not be, the sexiest names out there, pitchers out there, but I'll take that as my top three. You go with a young stud ace and two proven guys behind him. I like that a lot. I'm not completely on top of, any other guys or teams in the division. I know we just filmed before this, our over-under video. You had the Twins under. I don't love the Twins. I think the Indians still have a great pitching staff, but their lineup is horrible. And then the Royals and Tigers aren't even a consideration. So I think the White Sox run away with this division almost pretty easily.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like I said, I'm not high on the Twins. Cleveland baseball team, kind of great pitching staff, but where is that offense coming from outside of Jose Ramirez? So and maybe Franmil Reyes, but he's more of a power guy. I mean, I don't think he's going to light things up and take them to the playoffs. Right. So I just really like the White Sox for all the reasons you just said. I've put a lot of stock into Lucas Giolito. So if he has a bad season, I'm going to look really stupid, but I'm really high on him. And they have people that at the back end of that rotation, like Michael Kopech. I mean, I don't think he's as great as everyone plays him out to be. He's super annoying. And all he does is cool. He throws fast and he's got a cool slider, whatever. But he's not a bad fourth and fifth option. And you got Reynaldo Lopez too, who could kind of figure it out. So they have good 3, 4, 5s, saying someone potentially goes down. They have options in the rotation is what I'm saying. So I think they have the most depth in that division, and I think they have easily the best lineup in that division. So I would be shocked if they didn't run away with it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So who do you have for the AL West?
So AL West, I talked about this in our betting video. They were my AL over. I like the Houston Astros. Again, I'll say it again. It pains me to say it. I hate the Astros as much as the rest of Yankee fans do, but they're going to be good this year. I think that they're going to win at least 90 games. They have, a deep pitching staff with, Greinke, Odorizzi, McCullers, Christian Javier. Maybe we get something out of Framber Valdez or maybe even Verlander. I don't know if that's, out of the realm possibility. And then the lineup, they lose Springer, but they bring back Brantley. You have Bregman. You have Correa in a contract year. Yordan Alvarez comes back. There's a lot there to like. I just think top to bottom, they're easily the best team in that division. I'm not high on the A's. I don't think they do anything particularly well. I think they're pretty good all around, but there's nothing there that really wows you in the rotation or the lineup. Super low on the Angels. They were my under. We both have talked about how much we hate the Texas Rangers and how terrible they're going to be. And then the Seattle Mariners are a young up-and-coming team, but they're a year or two away still. So I think the Astros, top to bottom, are easily the best team in that division. And I would maybe go as far to say I feel better about the Astros winning the West than I do any of the other two teams, just because I don't really think there's anyone there to challenge them. I feel pretty confident with all three of those teams, the Yankees, the White Sox, and the Astros. But the Astros, it's not even just as much as the fact that I respect who they are and what they've done in the past. It's just that I don't see anyone else in that division who really is going to be better than them.
Yeah, Nick, you're right. I mean, I wish we didn't have the same pick all for the whole AL. But I think it's really hard to. I would be arguing against like the regular logic. Like it's as much as I want to say like, oh, they lost Springer, Verlander's not going to pitch this year. Potentially, maybe he comes back. Who knows? But I don't think it's going to be too tough for him to come back. But as like I would love to say they lost Springer, they lost Verlander. They're not going to be the same team. But let's be honest, the West isn't strong, and they are going to be pretty much the same team. So until proven otherwise, they take the title in the AL West. As much as I wish it was different.
Right.
Yeah. So now we got the 2 wild card teams, right, in the AL. Mm-hmm. So who do you think that turns out to be?
So my first one is easy. I think it's the Tampa Bay Rays. A lot of people are down on them, and I know even I said, they did lose Snell and Morton. I think that's going to be tough for them, but I think where that really impacts them is come playoff time. I think for the regular season, they're actually still well suited, especially for a year like this where guys are ramping back up from 60 games to 162. So I think they still have that depth. They still have that, as much as I hate Kevin Cash and the stable of arms, they do still have a deep bullpen. You bring back Glass now, who I think he take the next step forward this year. They bring back Chris Archer, who I fully expect them to just turn back into a Cy Young candidate. They get Luis Patino in the Snell deal. We're going to see him this year. I think they have enough pitching where they're going to win their fair share of games. So they're my number 1 seed for the wild card in the American League. Then my number 2, it's tough. I considered the A's. The Indians are going to pitch well enough to be in the mix, but I'm going with the Minnesota Twins just because, for 2 reasons. A, I think that they have a good enough rotation and a good enough lineup where, I don't see them contending for a division or a World Series, but I think they'll be in the mix and they'll win their fair share of games, especially against the Central that I'm not crazy about. And B, I don't know if I just said 1 and B, A and B, whatever. The second thing I'm saying is that it seems like it's just gospel that the Minnesota Twins need to lose in the postseason. It's not a complete season until you watch the Twins just get ragged on in October. So I'm going with Rays Twins as my wild cards.
Yeah, the Twins losing in the playoffs is almost like, in the Olympics when they have like the fire and the torch coming out.
Yeah, exactly. It's like we'll start the playoffs once the Twins are eliminated.
Yeah, like we know you're not going to do anything. So just lose so we can get this thing really going.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I mean, I agree with you. I actually have the Rays kind of being my second wild card team. I don't see them just falling off entirely. I mean, they were in the World Series just last year. They did get worse, but I mean, in other areas they stayed the same. I mean, I'll never bet against a really, really good bullpen, and the Rays are just stupid with how good they are. I mean, I love that arm graphic or the graphic with all the arms with like the circle of arms that they have and all like those different angles that like their relievers are going at. So I mean, it's their pitching staff is just going to be too good, even without Snell, even without Morton. So I'm not too worried about them. But I have to actually have them as my 5 seed below the Cleveland baseball team. And when I talk about good pitching, I love it when it's in the starters, so I mean they got Bieber, they got Plesac, Tristan McKenzie. I'm really high on him. I think he's going to have an awesome season, and I think they're going to have enough offense with Jose Ramirez. I don't really know where else it's going to come from, but I'm sure they'll find a way. Maybe it's like someone in the outfield. To be honest, I don't know where they're going to find it.
Rosario and Jimenez have promise. I think Rosario and Jimenez could both swing the bat, a little bit.
Yeah, it just scares me a little because I think weren't they throwing him in like center field in spring training? I don't know.
I don't know what their plan is with him.
That's the thing. I don't know what their plan is offensively because I feel like they're kind of like, well, maybe this guy will work out, maybe this guy will work out. But they do have their lock and Jose Ramirez. Like I said, Franmil Reyes is at least talented, and I think they have enough pitching to at least get to the wild card and win like 85 games. So I think we're kind of seeing in that range. I think the Rays are going to kind of be in like that 80 to 83 win range. Indians are including baseball team one step above them, not by much though. So that's my American League.
Okay, yeah, no, I can see that.
Yeah. So what do you got for the NL East?
So NL East, I said in the betting video, I think this is going to be top to bottom the best division in baseball. I think the Marlins are the only team that's really not going to be a good team per se, and that's a team that we saw, make the playoffs, albeit with a minus 40 run differential, and go on the road and win 2 games. So they're not going to be any kind of pushover, and that's the worst team in the division in my eyes. It's a 2-team race to me though, between the Braves and the Mets. I think it's going to be tight. I like them both a lot. I'm going with the Braves though. I said this, I had them as my NL over. I just love that rotation. You talk about if they can all, stay healthy with Soroka, Fried, Morton, and Ian Anderson. That's really, really good 1 through 4. Their lineup is just so good too. You're talking about Acuna, Freeman, Albies, Ozuna. I think that they are right up there with the Dodgers, Padres, and the Mets in terms of best teams in the National League. So as much as I like the Mets, I could easily see them winning the division. I think it's going to be the Braves.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. I agree entirely. I really love what the Mets did this offseason, getting better and using this kind of endless stream of money that it seems like they may have very strategically and very smart. But I don't think it still puts them above the Braves, who have developed one of the best cores in baseball that we see right now with Acuna, Freeman, Albies, even Dansby Swanson. There's shortstops are amazing right now in baseball, and Dansby Swanson isn't talked about enough. I think he's defensively a wizard. He's really, really good, and offensively he's put together enough that he should be respected at the plate. So when you look at this whole core, and then you look at their pitching staff, every single piece of that Braves team, I feel like they're a bullpen piece away from just being like find the hole. All they have to do is just perform. They just got like strategically and how the roster is built. I love it. So I can't pick against the Braves.
Agreed.
Yeah. So what about the Central?
So Central, we talked about this in our betting video as well. It's a 2-team race between the Brewers and the Cardinals. I've flip-flopped on this a bunch of times. I'm going to go with the Cardinals. I really love the Arenado trade. They bring in one of the best players in all of baseball. You said, you had him as your MVP pick. I think this is really his chance to shine and show the world, hey, I'm not just a good hitter at Coors Field. I can rake anywhere. So you put him in the middle of that lineup with Paul Goldschmidt. I think they'll score enough runs to get it done. Jack Flaherty at the top of the pitching staff didn't have a great 2020, but he's a Cy Young candidate. I like him a lot. Then you got to hope they get enough from guys like Kim, Wainwright, Carlos Martinez. I don't love the Cardinals. I think they're a step below all the other teams I just mentioned in the National League, whether it's the Braves, the Mets, the Padres, or the Dodgers. But I think they're solidly in that next tier. And it's going to be a tight division race, but I'll go with the Cardinals.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty much in total agreement with you. I was just looking up, I guess he's not in the league anymore. I was looking at Miles Mikolas because I was wondering where he was, but he didn't even play last year. So I'm not sure if he's just out entirely what his deal is. But regardless, I'm going with the Cardinals too. I think we're going to have matching picks all throughout here. Yep. But it's really tough for the Brewers to overtake a lineup like that. Obviously, they have Yelich in their lineup, but I don't see them having enough firepower to kind of overtake Matt Carpenter, Arenado, Goldschmidt, and the fact that the Cardinals bullpen is getting better with Jordan Hicks coming back. I'm so high on him. Granted, he's not their closer. He's just kind of like how they used to use like Andrew Miller, like kind of like just like their best guy out of the pen. I really like that strategy. He's got filthy stuff. He comes back healthy. He comes back, just doing his thing. Like their late innings are going to be, no one's going to stop him. So I just love their overall team. They definitely have enough in the lineup to get it done. So they're better than the Brewers in my opinion. Although I'm very high on the Brewers, I think the Cardinals overtake them.
I think it's going to be very, very close. Should be one of the more entertaining division races in baseball this year.
Yeah, 100%. What about the West? I mean, this is, I think, pretty obvious where we're going with this, but what do you think about the West?
Yeah, I mean, it's the Dodgers. Look, I know that the Padres made a lot of noise this offseason, and rightfully so. I mean, they went and added, 2 Cy Young level starting pitchers in Darvish and Snell, and a third one in Musgrove, who I think could be a very valuable back of the rotation arm. You're adding that to potentially Mackenzie Gore coming up this year, Dinelson Lamet, and Chris Paddock, who a lot of people are sleeping on. So this has nothing to do with me not liking the Padres. It has everything to do with the Dodgers being the best team in baseball. As much as it hurts me to say as a Yankee fan, Dodgers are the best team in baseball again this year on paper. Obviously, it doesn't mean anything. You look at a lineup, Rob and I, we were doing our video a couple weeks ago on the NL West keepers, where you had to narrow it down to 3 guys on a roster or in a farm system to keep in a redraft. And I forgot they had Cody Bellinger. That's how deep this team is right now. Honestly, I forgot about the 2019 National League MVP. Mookie Betts, Corey Seager, the rotation, Walker Buehler's back, Clayton Kershaw. They go out and get Trevor Bauer, who even though Rob and I don't like, and he got overpaid, there's really no pressure on him. He's essentially their number 3 starter. If you really want to think of it that way, I think he'll perform at least up to that expectation. So this team is just top to bottom loaded. The lineup, the rotation, the bullpen. They won the World Series last year for a reason. I think they're going to be hungry to prove some of these, doubters who say, "Oh, it's only a 60-game season," wrong. I think they're going to want to really try and go back to back, and I think that starts with winning the West.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to argue against you. The Dodgers are the best team in baseball on paper. I think on the field, wherever you want to look at them, they're the best team in baseball. They're going to win that division. They're going to win over 100 games. So much depth, just a ridiculous amount of depth. There's guys on that team that you see like Will Smith, how when they had him, when they had Yasmani Grandal too. I feel like when one guy leaves, they just have another top player just roll right behind him. So I wouldn't be. I mean, they still have that with Dustin May, all those guys. Just one after another with that team. But it transitions me over to our wild card picks. And I think that the 4th spot is, I would be hard to argue against this, is that the Padres are going to kind of be like that top wild card spot because they are the second best team in baseball, in my opinion. It was really, really fun to see a team go for it this year when you were seeing so many teams outside of it, just shipping away players, shedding salary cap, and just bearing down their team in every single way. And the Padres were just eating it up. They were just all right, give me this guy, give me that guy, give me this guy. And they made themselves a powerhouse in baseball. So I think that they have to be respected enough to be the first wild card spot.
Yeah, they're my first wild card spot too. If for no other reason than the rest of the West outside of them and the Dodgers isn't very good. I think both those teams are going to kick the absolute shit out of the Giants, Rockies, and Diamondbacks. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a situation similar to what we had in the AL East in 2018, where the Red Sox won 108 games, the Yankees won 100 en route to the wild card. I think we could see something similar where the Dodgers win 105 or more games, the Padres still win 99 or 100, and they're the wild card.
Yeah, absolutely. And that second wild card spot for me is going to be the Mets. I love what they did this season. I just said that. Overall, you could argue, depending on who's healthy and who's not, that they are one of the best rotations in baseball. Jacob deGrom is the best pitcher in baseball. And then past that, you got Stroman, you got Syndergaard coming back eventually. Carrasco hopefully comes back healthy pretty soon. So you got all these factors, and they have a good lineup. Francisco Lindor and Pete Alonso. Maybe if they're back to back like that, I really like the team. Jeff McNeil, a great player. So I think that they're going to be that second wild card spot. But it's funny, when you look at the NL, it's the top is you got the Dodgers, the Padres, the Mets, and the Braves. And those are going to be the 4 teams that you look at in the playoffs. But 2 of those guys are going to have to be wild cards, right. just because that's just the way it works. So, it's just funny how we're going to see how it plays out.
Yeah, no, I have the Mets as well for all the reasons you said. I really do love Carlos Carrasco. So I'm hoping that, this hamstring injury isn't too serious, but regardless, even if he is out for a good chunk of the season, that's not enough for me to pick anyone else over them for the wild card. They do have DeGrom. Syndergaard coming back on a contract year from Tommy John. He's going to have a lot of motivation. I don't love Marcus Stroman. Obviously, he has me blocked on Twitter, along with 95% of Yankees Twitter. But as a number 3 or 4 guy, I think he's, a very solid option there. And then that lineup is going to hit, man. I mean, they hit well in 2020. They didn't score a ton of runs. I think that's something we would have seen kind of even itself out over 162 games rather than just 60. I like Dom Smith a lot. I think Alonso bounces back. They added Lindor. Michael Conforto is a good player. Jeff McNeil is, one of the rare DJ LeMahieu types where he just gets the bat on the ball and hits and plays any position. So I like this Mets team a lot. I think their main question is the bullpen. Seth Lugo is hurt. Betances looks like he might be on the way out. What are you going to get from Diaz and Familia? But if there's a problem I would want my team to have out of lineup rotation and bullpen, it's bullpen. It's the easiest one to figure out, especially with all the guys who signed one-year deals this winter. I think there's going to be an abundance of relievers available at the deadline. But could we just step back for a second and think about how awesome this wild card game is going to be when DeGrom is going for the Mets and the Padres versus take your pick, whether it's Darvish, Snell, Paddock, Lamet, whoever it is. Maybe they trade for someone else at the deadline. Who knows? Just because they're addicted to trading for pitchers at this point. But I think Padres Mets is going to be an unbelievable wild card game, to the point that it almost is unfair that these two teams have to play in a one-game playoff. And I'm not advocating for the expanded playoffs. I'm not. But I think it's going to be an unbelievable wild card game between these two teams.
I was going to say the second that game is set, people are going to be like, why? Like, we should do seeding, and me tweeting all over that. Why should it be seeding? This shouldn't be the wild card. No, win your division.
Yep. No. Yeah. I wanted to be mad that the Yankees had to play in a wild card game and then the Red Sox in 2018. But at the end of the day, win your division. If the other team in your division wins 108 games, you win 100, you're shit out of luck. It is what it is. If you really think you're better than them, win more games than them or beat them in the playoffs. It just is what it is. I'm sure the Padres are going in with that same mentality, or, the Mets with the Braves. These teams think they can win their division. They can win their division. No matter what we just said about the Braves and the Dodgers, the Mets and the Padres are just as capable of winning that division as they are. So I think it's going to be really interesting. I think we're going to have 3 really good division races in the National League this year. And no matter what the matchup is, if it is Padres, Mets, like we think, or, maybe you throw the Braves in there, the Dodgers, I think we're going to get a really, really good NL wildcard game this year.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I guess we'll kind of transition that into the actual brackets and what's going to happen. What do you think happens in the AL?
So I'll start with the AL wildcard game, I guess. So I have the Rays, and who did I say for this? And the Twins. Do I really think the Twins are going to win a playoff game? Fun fact for the people at home, the last time that happened, it was 2004. Johan Santana was in the mound at the old Yankee Stadium. So unless they bring back the old Yankee Stadium and Johan Santana glues his arm back on after that no-hitter he threw, it's not happening. I'll go with the Rays. I think they are perfectly suited to win a one-game scenario like we saw with the Yankees in Game 5, where they could just throw a million different arms at you. Not only are you facing elite arms like Glasnow and all those other guys, you only get to see them once. I think that's unbelievably hard to do. So in a one-game format against almost anybody in baseball, I'll take the Rays.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's even a question. I mean, I have them going against the Cleveland baseball team, but I still think it's like you said, they're set up the best for this one game situation, because even if you want to argue that, we saw what Shane Bieber did last year in the playoffs. I don't think he would do that again, where he would just shit the bed like entirely. But even if one guy doesn't pitch well for the Rays, they got another one right behind him. So I wouldn't be too worried about them in a one game situation. I agree. I think we're going to see them take on the Yankees in the ALDS.
Yeah, and I know that we saw it. I know the Yankee bullpen wasn't rested, but we saw the Rays in a one-game scenario beat Garrett Cole, in a 2-1 game, and that's not me saying, they beat Garrett Cole. Yeah, I get the Yankees bullpen wasn't rested, but they also held the Yankees lineup with their strategy of going to a bunch of different guys to one run, a Yankee lineup that was pretty red hot up to that point. So I'm with you. The Rays are going to face the Yankees. The Yankees are my 1 seed for all the reasons I gave you. I think that they have to be the best team in the American League. This really is put up or shut up time for the Yankees if they don't win the World Series, or at the absolute minimum a pennant. I'm not saying I'd be sitting here happy with a pennant if we lost to the Dodgers or someone in the World Series, but I think that the Yankees have to be the 1 seed, and I have them moving on, exercising their demons and beating the Rays in that division series. And then my other division series, I have the White Sox as the 2 seed over the Houston Astros. I'm going to go with the Astros here for no reason in particular. I do like how the White Sox line up in a 5-game series, with Giolito, Lynn, and Keuchel. Just the Astros at this point, almost have kind of that late 90s Yankees syndrome. And I'm not trying to say they're as good as the late 90s Yankees. Obviously not. Those teams won 4 World Series and went to 5. But people were talking, about how the Yankees in 2000, 2001 should have dropped off a little bit, and they kind of didn't in the playoffs, just because it was almost muscle memory at that point, where you're in October and you're just succeeding because you've been there before, you've done the moment before, you've captured it. So I think that when you throw that Astros lineup with all their playoff experience and success out there against the White Sox lineup in a short series, I think that they're going to prevail. Just like how we saw, they didn't have the best regular season in 2020, but they forced their way to a Game 7 of the ALCS. So I'll take the Astros beating the White Sox in probably a 5-game series.
So I agree with you on the first one. I think the Yankees do exercise their demons and beat the Rays in that ALDS. In terms of the White Sox versus Astros, I think that it's kind of different. I see it a little differently. I think that when you're in the playoffs all the time, you almost take it for granted. And I think that the White Sox are in a situation this year where they're so talented, and they know that they're talented, that they're going to come into the playoffs with a full head of steam. They disappointed last year. They did, granted they weren't what they are this year. But they're a year older. I think they learned from that experience, and I think they're going to kind of come in with a lot more energy than the Astros are going to. And the Astros are going to kind of be caught flat-footed. And that's kind of where I see it, because I think they're like, oh no, we're more experienced. We kind of know how this goes. And at the end of the day, if you're not totally ready for a playoff series, which I don't think the Astros will be in this situation, you're going to get blown away. And I think that once there's too much energy coming forth, the Astros are going to just, like I said, be caught flat-footed. Mm-hmm. So we have different ALDS happenings, but what do you think happens in the ALCS? Do you think that the Yankees overcome the Astros in your situation?
Yeah, so this is Yankees Astros 3. It would be the 3rd time in 5 years they face off in the ALCS. It would be the 4th time in 6 years or 7. Yeah. Counting your fingers, not a math pod. Yeah, time in 7 years if you include the 2015 wild card game. I think this is the time they get over the hump. 2017 they were inexperienced. 2019 they ran into a team with Verlander, who, even though they did beat in Game 5, won the Cy Young that year, and Garrett Cole, who swung the series and was pretty much unhittable in that Game 3. This time Garrett Cole's on their side, and the Astros don't have anyone to match it. I know I picked them as my division winner because they do have depth, but once you get to the postseason, you need that ace. I think the Yankees have Garrett Cole, and if you look at whether it's Severino, Kluber, Tyone, they just need 1 or 2 other guys behind Cole throwing up to their potential. With that lineup, I'm going to go with the Yankees in 6 games over the Astros.
Yeah, I have the Yankees too, and I agree that the 6 games is a good mark, because I think the in my situation, I have the White Sox. I think they're going to come out hot. I think they're going to win Game 1, and then I think that the Yankee veterans are going to step up, and they're going to be like, "Hey guys, we can't do this again. We need to win this year." We've talked a lot about the intricacies of the teams, and you can talk about all about how the matchups line up. But like I said with the Astros White Sox, I think playoffs is all about momentum. It's all about veteran leadership. It's about momentum, and it's about the clubhouse. And I think that the Yankees I mean, obviously barring the season to come, I think the Yankees have one of the best clubhouses. I feel like these guys root for each other. They have each other's backs. You kind of saw it coming up with that 2017 team where they were ahead of schedule, and now they're kind of coming up where they are the favorites. They need to win. And I think that these guys have been through enough that there's no reason why they can't overcome a talented team, whether it is the White Sox or the Astros. I think that this is the year where they understand everything that they have to do. They've lost enough times to know where they fault. So I think this is the year that they really just put it all together and have the right mindset going into the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, they're the clear cut favorite in the American League sound it out, for a reason, right? I mean, we just talked about the fact that, the Astros don't have Verlander. The Rays lost Morton and Snell. So there are teams that will challenge them. I think the Astros will be in their way. The White Sox potentially will be in their way. But this is put up or shut up time for the Yankees. They were the underdog story in 2017 when they got to that 7th game of the ALCS. This is the 4th year now since that where they come in as favorites or one of the favorites to win the pennant. If they don't do it this year, I think there are major changes incoming. This year has a lot of implication on, Aaron Judge, Gary Sanchez, maybe even Aaron Boone. Who knows? I think things would have to go really wrong for them to get rid of him after this year. But if they don't win a pennant, I don't think anything is off the table. So they really have to get it done, and I think that they do.
Yeah. So we got the Yankees in the AL. Who do you got in the NL? Start with the wild card game.
So National League wild card game, I talked about how great I think it's going to be. Dodger. Why do I keep saying the Dodgers instead of the Padres? Damn it. Padres, Mets. Yeah, it is. Maybe the Padres are going to win that division after all. No, so Mets, Padres. So the way I had it going down, I think the Padres are going to be the home team. It's going to be in San Diego. I think the Padres win close to, if not 100 games. The Mets have a little bit tougher time. I think they win somewhere between 92 and 96 games, just because the NL East is going to be a lot better than the West. All that being said, I'm not picking against Jacob deGrom in a 1-game winner go home. I know it's probably going to be against Blake Snell, Yu Darvish, a very capable pitcher for the Padres. I know they're the home team. I'm going to go with deGrom. The same way I said the Rays are perfectly equipped to beat anyone in a 1-game series. The next best thing to that is throw the best pitcher in baseball at him. I'm going to go with deGrom and the Mets to move on and face the Dodgers, who are the 1 seed for me in the NLDS.
Yeah, honestly, Nick, I wrote down that the Padres beat the Mets, but I really didn't, and it's surprising I didn't think of this. I really didn't think about the fact that Jacob deGrom is going to be throwing that baseball game. And I can't see myself pick, because then I'm going to look at the matchup of that day, and I'm going to see Jacob deGrom versus Blake Snell / Yu Darvish, whatever it winds up being. And how do you pick the Padres in that situation? Yeah, I think that they're the better team overall, and I think they had probably the better offense when you look at all things said and done. But I mean, how do you bet against the best pitcher in baseball? The guy's going to throw 8 innings, let up 1 run. Regardless of how good your team is, how do you match that? So you convinced me just simply for the fact of saying Jacob deGrom's name. So I'm going to go Dodgers Mets in the NL DS too.
How crazy is that, though, that we're both on the same page with the fact that the Padres are likely going to throw a guy who could easily finish in the top 5 of Cy Young voting this year, whether it's Snell or Darvish or, there's a multiple number of guys on that team who could finish that high. And it's still you can't pick them because they're going against Jacob deGrom. I mean, it's just a don't overthink it situation. Yeah,
exactly. And it's kind of weird. And I don't mean to hit on the Yankees, but I wouldn't feel that same oh, we're absolutely set with Garrett Cole. Do you know what I mean? I think that Jacob deGrom, there isn't that much of a gap between the two, but in terms of how I feel comfortably with this guy being thrown out there, the level of confidence is just there is a gap in that confidence level. In terms of their talent and how their seasons might pan out, there isn't as much. But I could see Garrett Cole going out shoving 7 innings, 2 runs. I could see Jacob deGrom going 8 innings, 1 run. And I feel that's the difference is we have to use one other guy in this game to get us through 9 innings. With Garrett Cole, his pitch count is typically on the higher side. So I don't know. I feel like that's where like that difference kind of coincides, and that's like why I can't pick against the Mets.
I think I'd feel close to as confident with Cole, but no, you're right. There's no one I'd be more confident in to pitch that
Yeah.
game than DeGrom. No one
Yeah.
else.
So in terms of then we would have the Cardinals and the Braves. Who do you have in that series?
I have the Braves winning that series. I think, even though they did lose that in 2019 with that the 10-run first inning for the Cardinals in Game 5, that game was unbelievable. Remember the Mark Melanson video that he posted where it was just like him taking a selfie video throughout like the locker room, the dugout. It was like, Braves fans, we need your energy. He just like kept saying energy,
Yeah.
and they're down 10-0 before they even come to bat. That video just always lives rent free in my brain. I think about it like once a month. It's like, oh yeah, like that really happened, and they got 10 runs in the first inning.
Lost that game for your team. Yeah. That's
Yeah,
like
no, I remember John
smoking a cigar. Yeah.
I remember John Boy tweeted like, "Oh, so this game is on Melanson." Everyone agrees, right? And people thought he was like being serious, and everyone's like, "All right, calm down." But no, I think the Braves are the better team. I think they win this, if not a sweep, in 4. And that's not a knock on the Cardinals. I picked them to win the division for a reason. All that being said, I love the Braves rotation. Their lineup, they're going to have home field for that series. So I'll go with the Braves. And then on the flip side, so we both have Mets, Dodgers. I'm going Dodgers for 2 reasons, and I think it's also probably a sweep or 4-game series. I think I'll go 4 with this one because I do think the Mets are a lot better than the Cardinals are. One, the Dodgers are a very good team. They're the best team in baseball, top to bottom, like I said. And 2, yeah, sure, the Mets are getting to the division series by throwing Jacob deGrom, but then when can he go again?
Yeah.
I don't know how the scheduling works out, but game 3 at the earliest. I'm assuming maybe game 4. I know when Severino tried to throw the wild card game in 2017 for the Yankees, even though he only got 1 out, they didn't pitch him again until game 4. So I don't know if that was a situation where he couldn't have gone game 3. Or if they just didn't want him to. But regardless, you're not seeing Jacob deGrom for at minimum the first 2 games of that series. I think that's too much to overcome, so I'll take the Dodgers over the Mets.
Yeah, I actually had the same situation as you. I got Braves, and then I got Dodgers, both making it to the NLCS. Pretty much for the same reason. I think that the Braves are the better team when you look at all down up in the roster. Maybe Flaherty gets a great game. They win game 1. I don't think they get swept just for the situation that I feel like that's rare in baseball. But for going over to the Dodgers Mets, yeah, I mean, where do you see the Mets winning that game? Like maybe the DeGrom game. But at that point, I mean, are the Mets going to feel too defeated to make like a massive comeback? Because I don't see them winning the first 2 games against the Dodgers with Kershaw and maybe Bueller Bauer, whatever it winds up being going. So I'm going to go with the Dodgers advancing that too, just for the fact that they don't have DeGrom twice.
Right.
They had to get there. So I got Dodgers Braves in the NLCS. So who do you have winning that?
I'll go Dodgers. I think it goes 7 again. As much as I like the Dodgers, I really like the Braves almost as much for all the reasons I keep saying. I think you're going to look at a lot of great pitching matchups. You're talking about a Dodgers rotation that's going to feature Bueller, Kershaw, Bauer, and who even is their number, Dustin May or Julio Urias, against a Braves rotation of Soroka, Fried, Anderson, Morton. I think you're going to get a lot of good pitching matchups in that series. 2 potent offenses going at it, but Dodgers will have home field advantage. I'll go Dodgers in 7.
Yeah, I agree. I got the same take. So we got Dodgers, Yankees looking at the World Series. I mean, that's the battle of the coast. I mean, this is the matchup that nobody wants, but everybody wants. Do you know what I mean? Because it's the 2 evil empires, the 2 big payroll teams. I mean, who you got?
This is the matchup that the 28 other fan bases will complain about and tell you they don't want. But when it happens, you won't be able to take your eyes off it. I mean, we haven't seen a Yankees-Dodgers World Series since, I believe, 1981 was the last time it happened. The Dodgers are the favorite to win the National League going into the season. The Yankees are the favorite to win the American League going into the season. Anytime you get that in a World Series, that'd be huge. Talking about star power on both sides, Mookie, Judge, Cole, Bueller, Bauer, Kershaw, Bellinger, Glaber, DJ, it's just an unbelievable amount of stardom on both sides. My brain wants to say the Dodgers just because I do think they'll win more games in the regular season than the Yankees and have home field advantage. As much as people want to look down on it, I think it definitely does help, especially with fans back in the stands. I can't pick against the Yankees. I'm going to have a giraffe neck Mark moment where he picks the Mets every year. If the Yankees get to the World Series, they get over that hump. They beat the Rays. They beat the Astros. So they've taken out now the teams who have given them fits the last, 2 postseasons. And they get to face the Dodgers. I just want to believe that they could will themselves to do it. You're talking about hopefully having Garrett Cole lined up for game 1. You can get 3 starts out of him in a 7-game series. Hopefully they're rolling at that point. If they've won 2 playoff series, hopefully the bats, Judge or Stanton or someone goes on that 09 A-Rod type run like Stanton kind of did for the first couple games last year, where someone is just mashing the ball and you can't get them out. It's going to take that. It's going to take a lot. I'll go with the Yankees in 7. I think they celebrate on the Dodgers home field and they win number 28.
Yeah, Nick, I would love to agree with you. As much as my heart wants me to, I think the baseball mind in me knows that that's not going to happen. I just feel like it's really hard because the first thing I always look at is the pitching matchup. And Cole, I think Kershaw is still going to be their number 1, unless Buehler really makes like a huge step forward, just more out of tipping the cap than anything. More just in name, he's their number 1. So Buehler, Cole, Kershaw, game 1. Maybe we get that one. I think we have a good chance there. Maybe we get a little playoff Kershaw, get some luck there. But past that, are you hoping Severino comes back? Are you hoping Tyone can beat Walker Buehler? Are you hoping Kluber can beat Walker Buehler? Are you hoping these guys can beat Trevor Bauer? And then you're looking at Julio Urias, and then you're looking at Dustin May, and you're looking at these pieces out of the bullpen that they have, Joe Kelly, Kenley Jansen. And it's like, yeah, I think the Yankees are the only team that can compete with the Dodgers at that level and maybe go punch for punch with them. But I think at the end of the day, there's too many guys and there's too much wishful thinking with the Yankees that it is super hard to say, yeah, I think that they can beat this team. That just is the complete package. So just when you look up like matchup for matchup, they're the closest team that can do it, but I don't see anyone beating the Dodgers this year.
I'm going to give you 2 very biased casual fan takes as reasons why the Yankees could potentially win that series against the Dodgers. And again, listen, I'm totally with you. I've said maybe no less than 12 times in this video that I think the Dodgers are top to bottom the best team in baseball. So yeah, if I was a casual observer, I don't think I'd pick the Yankees. Obviously we're also predicting the World Series 7 months in advance, which is pretty tough to do. Number 1, a guy we didn't name who's actually back this year is David Price. So if David Price is throwing the ball well all season, I know that there's other options, but what they're paying him, he's going to be in the Dodgers rotation. He's a guy who we saw have postseason success in 2018 with the Red Sox. He pitched really well in that World Series. If David Price pitches against the Yankees, especially if you're talking about maybe a game 3 or 4 at Yankee Stadium, if they somehow allow that to happen, the Yankees will beat David Price. It's death, taxes, and the Yankees just clobbering David Price. I know you and I were there for Sunday Night Baseball in 2018 when they hit the 5 homers off them. It happened again in 2019. They beat him in 2018 in the playoffs. If David Price pitches for the Dodgers, I have 1,000% confidence the Yankees are winning that game. Reason number 2, and this one is a lot more of a stretch. This one is a big stretch. But I think the American League is very weak this year. I do think that, the White Sox and the Astros are respectable teams, but I do think overall in the regular season, their division and the rest of the league, the Yankees do have an easy path. I'm not saying that they definitely will win the pennant, but I do think theoretically they have an easier path to get to the World Series than the Dodgers do. The Dodgers are going to have to play either the Mets or the Padres, and then the Braves, who we both said that series is probably going to go 6 or 7. I think it's going to be tough. You're going to be throwing your guys. So maybe if the Yankees have a little bit of an easier path to get there and they're not as beat up, and maybe Cole and Severino, Tyone, some of those guys have some more bullets in their arm than the Dodgers do, maybe that works in their favor. At the same time, you could also play the flip side and say, okay, yeah, but if the Dodgers, go through hard-fought battles, but the Padres in the division all year, they beat the Mets in the division series, and then they beat the Braves in a 7-game series. Who was the momentum? Yeah, you could play that one too. So I'll say that there's a chance if the Yankees have an easier path to get there, maybe that works in their favor in the World Series. Maybe.
Yeah, Nick, I think you could talk yourself in circles for days.
I do all the time.
You're getting into the rest or rust argument now on a
Yeah.
playoff series that is months away. I think what we got to look at now is how the rosters are constructed. I do actually think that the Yankees are going to add another piece at the deadline, whether it be a starter or it is a reliever. I think they're pretty much set with their offense. I'd be shocked to see anything substantial there. Maybe someone's hurt or not performing, then maybe we see that. But I just when you look at the rosters right now, it is so hard to pick the Yankees over the Dodgers. I mean, you forgot about Cody Bellinger, and this is that's their 6 hitter. You know, he hit 6 in their lineup, and he's an MVP. So like, it's so hard for me to just say like the Yankees. I did forget about the David Price point. I will say that. So Yankees and Dodgers in 7 instead of Dodgers in 6. So because we get that game. But I mean, that's my final take on it. Yeah.
Again, this is so, it's utterly ridiculous, honestly, to pick, a postseason winner and try and predict what kind of momentum there is 7 months out. So I get it. You can clip this and say, oh, this guy's talking out of his ass. Yeah, I'm completely talking out of my ass. But I'm just speculating. I mean, you look at the Nationals in 2019. That was a team that was a misplayed ball and a Juan Soto single in right field away from being eliminated in the wild card game, and they go all the way, win 4 road games in the World Series and take down the 107 win Astros. So I'm not saying that. Obviously, if you can make a case for any of these teams to win the World Series, say, hey, if their pitching's healthy and rested and they're hot, then any of these teams in the playoffs besides the Minnesota Twins can easily go all the way and win the whole thing. But if you're asking me, which is what the question is, who's the best currently constructed team in baseball, is the Dodgers. But I'm going to stay true to my roots and pick the Yankees just because I have to believe that it'll be them.
Look, I would love to see the Yankees. So I'm going to change my pick to the Yankees. Yankees in 4, the final pick.
Yeah, Yankees in 3. Yankees in 3. Dodgers go home. Yeah, no.
Yeah, Dodgers quit.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I mean, Nick. I mean, unless you want to talk yourself in any more circles, you got.
No, I'll think of something else on Twitter. I'm trying to think what other debate I could think. Yeah, Rest versus Rust is one that you could literally go all for 24 hours on. But
yeah. All right. Well, I mean, that's our takes. Yankees in 4 is pretty much the final conclusion that we're going with for the playoffs. I mean, this is it. Baseball season is finally starting. I know I'm as excited as I've ever been. Just because we got robbed, we didn't get the full season last year. I mean, I can't be more excited for baseball right now than I am. Nick, how about you?
Getting 162, however it comes, I'm in the process right now trying to figure out, how to get back inside Yankee Stadium. I got a ticket package, and obviously with the reduced capacity, they kind of kicked me out of some of my games. But just to know that I will be inside Yankee Stadium at some point this year, watching a live baseball game, that I'm going to get 162 games and really have a chance to get to know the team night in, night out, instead of just kind of a 60-game sprint and hoping that they figure it out right away. It's just going to be so nice. I mean, we're both baseball diehards. 162 games sounds like an absolute dream. So the fact that we haven't seen that in 2 years now is pretty crazy. But I can't remember another season I was this excited for as going to this one. And it works out pretty well too. This is also our first, season making content. So I think it's going to be a good one to start on.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just going to say, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, whatever the hell you want to do with our YouTube page. We got a lot of baseball content coming to you guys this season. And I hope you guys are excited for it. I know we are. So follow Below the Belt Sports for, baseball. It's back, baby.
Do we even know what our content structure is going to be yet? I feel like we'll probably end up doing a once a week, almost kind of this week in baseball check-in, but then, one-off videos for, if there's injuries, trades, so a brawl happens, anything like the Tatis, swinging on 3-0 grand slam last year, anything that really catches the attention of the whole league. Or honestly, if you want to see us make a video, tweet at us. Our handles are down here. Comment it. We'll probably oblige. Even if we're making it for one person, one view. Great. We'd like to. We love to know what you guys want out of us, because we're fans too. So whatever you want to see, we're more than willing to try.
Yeah, I mean, we're, like Nick said, baseball diehards. I mean, I'll talk baseball all day. So whatever you want, go for it.
Absolutely.
All right. We'll see you guys after opening day.
All right, guys. Have a good opening day. Happy holidays, baby.
Go Yanks, baby. Yanks in 4. Yanks in 4.
Yanks in 4.